Here we go, guys. We're recording in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another Lead with Impact podcast episode. This is our second episode, and I'm your host, Cole Rogers, founder, lead follower of the School of Man. Before we get too far into it, guys, check us out on Facebook at the School of Man. That's also our Instagram handle. Also, check us out on YouTube, School of Man. We have a YouTube channel. We're just getting it started, so we would love your support. Today is a special podcast episode for the sheer fact that not only do I have my beautiful wife, Ashley, but I also have a mentor of mine, my personal therapist, JC McDaniel. JC, tell everybody hello.
Hello, everyone.
Great. That was so prolific, brother.
Well, let's start by saying, first of all, JC started out as my therapist.
Speaking the mic, baby.
JC started out as my therapist, so I just want us to clarify here that he was originally mine, not yours.
Well, and that's why I wanted you on the podcast. And this is going to be it's going to be fun. There is some stuff I do need to talk about, JC, and we'll get into it, and you're going to help. And I'm labeling this specific episode that therapy isn't woo-woo because
Therapy, did you say that again?
I said therapy isn't woo-woo.
Oh, okay.
You know, I mean, a lot of people, and tell me if I'm right or tell me if I'm wrong, especially with guys. Guys are scared as hell to go see a therapist. And I think some women are too.
Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah. We're all scared of the unknown, but there's a stigma and there's a stereotype out there about what therapy is and what therapy looks like. And it's not comfortable, and it's no guy wants to talk about their feelings. So sure. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah. That's where I started. I mean, and it took me two or three therapists to find you. And Ashley's the one that's
well, nobody could determine if you were a child or an adult just because of your height. So we didn't know what to do with you. So
this is why I love you being my therapist.
Uh-huh.
I really do. I mean, we get, and I do respond, and Ashley can agree to this, that, you know, the most powerful or most impactful part of couples therapy for us, and of course, you know, I completely screwed up. And by the way, if everybody hears our children, they're downstairs, Lord knows doing what, but was that day when it just finally blew up with Ashley and I. All the white lies caught up with me, and I'll never forget. She's on you're one end of the couch, I'm on the other, and you're in your nice little recliner that you had, and with your leg your leg tucked underneath the other leg. That's how you usually sit. And you're probably sitting like that right now.
I am.
And you gave me the knife hand, and for lack of a better term, you said, "Hey, if you don't un-F yourself, she's gone. She's done."
Yep.
I remember that.
True statement.
I remember that. But look, we'll just dive right in, and then we can talk about some other stories from when we started therapy together. Ashley and I did with you.
Well, let's make one thing clear before we go further, is that I am no longer your counselor, your therapist, marriage counselor or therapist.
Right.
Just simply HIPAA and all that good stuff.
Absolutely.
I'm willing to talk about this now because I'm not actively treating you.
That's exactly right. So this is more of a mentorship call and just shooting the bull, if you will. But it's something I talked to Ashley about, and the one thing I do want us to address is to, like, you know, me dealing with so many, mentoring so many men in the SOM, and you being around the program. I really want us to break that down. You know, that therapy isn't. I mean, it isn't woo-woo. It doesn't have to be, and it's something that a lot of guys, they push off, thinking like, no, I can handle it myself, or like you said, we're too scared to talk about our feelings, right? And it's go ahead.
I was going to say, School of Man is just one giant therapy session.
That's all it is. 100%. It's group therapy.
It's masked in weights and sweating and screaming and yelling and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's some of the best therapy anybody can get.
I agree. Have you seen an uptick since COVID with depression, anxiety, or anything like that?
Have I done what?
Have you seen an uptick just in general.
Unfortunately, yeah. I mean, here's the thing: is anxiety is present every day. You know, we all experience a daily level of anxiety that is just present, and 100% of the world's population is dealing with COVID-19 in one form or another. And the thing about COVID-19 is it's an unknown, it's unpredictable, and so that's the basic definition of anxiety, of being overwhelmed with this fear of not knowing what's going to happen. So, yeah, anxiety, and then anxiety and depression are kissing cousins. If you got anxiety, you're probably going to be depressed at some point. If you're depressed, you're going to have anxiety. So, the answer to your question is yes, 100%. Now, the problem is access. You know, a lot of people who are at home who really need therapy are turning to the number one coping mechanism, which is avoidance. And so instead of going to get in therapy, they just avoid, they isolate, and they feel a little better, but they're just avoiding the problem. So unfortunately, I'm not getting as many intakes as I normally would if people were still being thrust back into a daily environment and, you know, and being told every day that there's something wrong with them, because right now we're just not around people to be held accountable. Long answer is, you know, yes, I think there is an increase in anxiety and depression, no doubt. Unfortunately, there hasn't been an increase in people reaching out and getting help.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Ashley, you've been homeschooling.
Yeah, that's a blast.
Yeah. How's that going?
It's going great.
Have you felt any anxiety?
Oh, none. No, it's gone peachy. That's totally a lie. It has been really rough. As I've informed my daughter one day, I did not choose to be a teacher for a reason. So this is not fun for me. But I know it's what's necessary right now. So here I am. There are tears by all of us. Maybe every day.
I mean, speaking of that, JC, you know, for those that we've got a large, I wouldn't say a large group, we've got several men in the SOM that do deal with depression on the regular, you know, and it's been really eye-opening to me these past 6 to 8 weeks, where it has, I would say, amplified it a little bit. Like, what is your recommendation, or what are you typically talking people through that deal with depression when it comes in waves? Like, what's the one thing that you really advise them on?
Making yourself even more uncomfortable. You know, the thing about it is that when we get comfortable, we're not testing ourselves. We're not challenging ourselves. We're not creating any change. And so the more comfortable you make yourself, the easier it is for that anxiety and depression to stay locked in. So if you can get up and force yourself to go do something, whether it's going for a run or going for a walk, or, you know, fixing that doorknob on the door, or whatever we're getting stuck doing at home, then do it. Force yourself to do it, because otherwise change isn't going to happen on its own. You're not just going to wake up one morning and just go, oh, hey, I'm free of anxiety and depression. No, you have to make that change. And so if I have any advice to give, it's, you know, get up off your butt and do something about it.
I think that's some solid advice. And then to follow that up, one thing that we have seen in the SOM that we've been addressing is anger. I know that there have been times in my life that was my primary emotion. Mm-hmm. And guys not knowing how to channel it. And I'm not just saying guys, I mean, women too. I mean, you can, I have anger. You can admit, Ash.
I definitely get anger. I get riled up. I have anger issues at times. And I think I'm shockingly.
You think it's due to control when you feel like you're not in full control?
Yeah, I would definitely say it has a lot to do with control. And shockingly enough, I think my anger has been better over these last several weeks than I thought it was going to be, considering being thrown into a situation that I wasn't expecting. But in the past, I've had a lot of anger issues where I'll just, kind of flip.
Well, Ashley, let me ask you something about your anger. You said your anger now being at home, so anger in my mind, is being hurt.
I'd say mine's more frustration.
Yeah. Being frustrated, being hurt, being challenged in a way where, you don't feel like you have a quick resolution. The thing of it is to understand that we get focused on the response instead of getting focused on the trigger or the stimuli, the thing that is causing us to be angry. We get focused on, well, I'm angry and I'm pissed off, and then I react this way, and I say and I do things, and I'm hurtful towards others, or I break things, or whatever. Right? We get focused on trying to fix that end of the problem when the reality is we need to work on the front end. If you work on the trigger or the stimuli or the thing that is causing you to feel hurt or frustrated or irritable, then you're much less likely to end up with that response, which is, acting foolish or saying or doing things that you regret. That's why I asked, what is it you feel like now that causes your frustration? Is it having to teach, when you didn't sign up for that?
For me personally, I think it is frustration of not controlling our children's procrastination at times. Like they will procrastinate, and it sends me over the edge.
And I'm one of those children, by the way, Jason.
Yeah, he is. I agree. Mm-hmm. But I can't stand when somebody just doesn't get something done. Like, get to the task at hand, get it done, and move on to the next. Not let's spend triple amount of time doing the task, take a break in between doing whatever else, and then going on to the next and repeating this ridiculous vicious cycle.
Right.
Like mine was, in particular, in the first part of our marriage, until I started seeing you, mine was a lack of control. When I'm not in control, I feel insecure.
And I'm very much of a control freak too. Absolutely. I'm OCD, control freak.
Now, you do have OCD. I mean, it's one of those things you wear my ass out on. I do. If a hat's not in the right place.
I was just sitting here moving a book a few centimeters.
Or you tell me 10 times to do something, which I agree that there are times that you need to do that with me, right? We were talking about JC's assistant, or people just following up, mm-hmm. for lack of a better term, on a couple things. And, mm-hmm. That's the one thing that it drives me up the wall. At times about you.
Well, for you, I think if it's not giving you some kind of added benefit, then you just shove it to the side.
Drop that bomb.
Just saying.
I don't have a sound effect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, JC, for your feedback.
He's like, absolutely.
I'm saying it's the affirmation, right? It's the reward. If that reward, isn't immediate, or if it doesn't fit your expectation.
Right. I can be selfish. No, I can be 100% selfish, can't I, Ashley?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
I won't deny that one.
Yeah.
But I still love you for it.
I know. Well, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted the three of us to get together today, is not necessarily to do therapy with each other, but just to kind of talk about this stuff, because I know other married couples deal with it too. Right, JC? I mean, you see it all the time.
And right now it's got to be harder than ever before with everybody being home together.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and it's relationships in general, but yes, married, 100%. The reality is I don't care who you are. It doesn't discriminate. You're going to have conflict. You're going to have disagreements. I don't care how great the relationship is. You're not always going to agree with each other. It's about problem solving. It's about conflict resolution. How good are you at doing those things? And a lot of times people just avoid it, and that's where disconnection happens, right? Over time, you let things go. You say it's not worth it. You just sweep it under the rug. Or hell, you're just tired. You've had the same conversation so many times, and that person won't change, that you're just like, screw it.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, how often, so like when Ashley and I started seeing you, right? Ashley found you first, and it was come to me separately.
Yes.
Wasn't it? Because we never met with you together until you said, hey, until you guys get 4 to 6, I don't know what the number was. It's irrelevant now, but basically unpack.
Oh, that was a money grab for me.
Ah, perfect. That's what I thought.
I need to see you separately.
Yeah, we'll milk this thing for all it's worth. And Cole's really jacked up.
I saw a couple of suckers.
Yeah.
I thought, you know what?
That's why we love you.
That's exactly why I love this guy. But no, seriously, and I'll never forget. I mean, how jacked up was I when I first met you?
I mean, you know, I won't categorize you as the worst person I had ever seen, but hey, man, you were not well. I'll just say that. I'll be nice and just say you weren't well.
Hey, thanks, buddy.
Yeah, you're welcome.
But no, to that point, both Ashley and I, we have to, and that's the one thing I'll tell all you guys, and I guarantee JC is going to echo it. You can't unpack your wife's stuff for her. You just can't, and don't try. No. It's dumb. No. Trust me, it's dumb because we want to fix everything. But so we did separate, then we came together, right?
Yeah, and still did separate too.
And still did separate too, and that's why I believe in therapy so much. I mean, it saved me. This guy saved me and saved us. Honestly.
I didn't say you saved.
I know. Yourself. Well, you know what we mean. You were a good conduit for it. I mean, it was a two years solid that we started down that path with you. But where I'm going with it is this: how many couples do you see where you have one person? I don't care if it's the husband or the wife, where they're not. You got one person who's completely all on board, clicking on all cylinders. They're growing themselves, but then you've got the other person that is just dead set in their ways. How much do you see of that? And then what recommendation do you have? Because I get to hear that a lot.
Well, I mean, I live that way. My wife is dead set in her ways. She's not going to change. So
it's kind of me too.
Yeah, she's perfect, right? I mean, she is. And I say that jokingly and seriously. I struggle with that a lot because I struggle to find her making any mistakes. It's usually me. It's usually, you know, and so what I'm saying is in a lot of relationships, that's not uncommon to see where you've got one person who just struggles because they're constantly feeling like they're saying they're sorry all the time. I'm sorry. Golly, I can't believe I did that again. I'm sorry. And I see that probably more than when I see a couple that comes to me and they're both sitting there going, well, it's 50-50. I'm bad 50% of the time. They're bad. It's usually skewed. And, but what ends up happening is even in y'all's case is like, you know, you even said it, Cole, you came to me and you were like, man, I've really screwed this up. And Ashley comes in and she's like, I just don't know what to do. Right. He's this and this. And I love him, but you know, we're at the point to where love isn't enough anymore.
But you know, when I first came to you, JC, I came to you because I was having some issues with our daughter. We had a really rough summer and we were clashing bad. And I thought this was Was
it with Ava Madison or with Landon?
It was with Ava Madison. She and I had a really rough summer together. Like it was.
And
awful.
for the record, too, like we went to 2 other people before JC. Yes. I mean, it took. You got to find that right person. In my opinion, you have to find that right person.
But when I came to JC about Ava Madison and her and I just clashing all summer, it was awful. And I thought she was the issue the whole time. It was when I got to therapy and talking to you, JC, that I realized that the issue really was probably me, not her. And I never once thought I was at fault until I talked to you. It never, ever crossed my mind. And so, I mean, I know that was mother and daughter situation, but it's the same thing when it comes to a husband and wife or whatever else. It's not just one person, or you may not be correct about this. You just sometimes need somebody to help you open your eyes.
Well, yeah. And what you're touching on, though, is that, you know, our relationships are overlap. So you can't be the best version of yourself for your kid if your marriage is not well, right? If your marriage isn't in the best place that it can be in. So, and being a parent is, good God, they didn't
We're
hand
dealing
us
with it right now. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't hand you an owner's manual when you walked out of the hospital saying, okay, here's what you do in every situation, right? I mean, being a parent is one giant experiment.
Just like marriage.
Well,
so
and right now, outside of my office door, our two hooligans are crying for attention, and we're going to let them in here in a little bit. So
they're taunting us.
They are taunting us, and it's either A, someone's about to fall through the ceiling, or B, it's about to be a complete bloodbath out there because they're about to get into it with each other.
Yeah, they need a referee.
But no, I guess what I was also asking to that point too is that how often do you see though, like you do have somebody, man, it could be the husband or wife that completely operates in self-awareness. They're like, holy shit, like I've got to get my stuff together. I want to make this work. And then all of a sudden you've got the other one, when they get to that stage to where they come together for therapy, they just don't buy in. Like it's completely like nothing's wrong with me. They're not willing to admit. I mean, that's the one thing Ashley and I will agree upon is that we both brought to the altar, like, hey, we'll take extreme ownership for what we've got going on personally as well as within the marriage.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you kind of answered your own question in the sense that the reality is therapy won't work unless you want it to work. And if you're coming in and you're not willing to take that ownership of that, even if and this is what I was saying, that, a lot of times what I see is it's the majority of one person versus the other. It's never really 50-50 in the sense that, but if even if I am 90% of the problem, my spouse at least needs to own that 10%. She's got to come in and say, yep, this is what I own, and this is what I need to work on, and this is what, instead of constantly pointing the finger at the other person. That's where we get hung up, is trying to force the other person to change and force the other person to make, better decisions or what have you, and not focusing on ourselves. Because at the end of the day, Cole, you can't change Ashley, and Ashley can't change you. You have to change yourself.
And we were definitely that way. I mean, I know Cole was like 99.9% of the problem, and I was the 1%. I'm just kidding. But I did take ownership of my fault and what I was going through or what my issues were. I did, even though he came in knowing that he had a lot of, that he was pretty much, I think, thinking it was all him. When we started unpacking our baggage, we realized it's not all him.
How much trauma therapy do you deal with, JC?
Every day.
Do you?
I would probably, if I had to throw a percentage on it, I think everybody, I'd say 100% of the population has some form of trauma. Because look, trauma is different for everyone, right? What was traumatic for me is not necessarily traumatic for you, or is even, not even something that's on your radar that you could probably think you could ever handle or experience. So, I work with people who have been sexually abused. I work with people who have been in combat. I work with people who are police officers and firemen and nurses and doctors and, all kinds of, and those are, and those are the obvious ones, right? Those are the obvious ones. And then you come across somebody who, was in a car accident and they have head trauma, and now they can't even cross the street because, they got hit by a car 10 years ago, and they literally start to convulse, when faced with having to, go through a crosswalk. So I think, again, everybody experiences some form of trauma. Now, is that the reason why you're having anxiety or depression today? I don't know. I mean, I guess I would throw, if I was going to throw a percentage on it, I'd say probably a good 60 to 70% of my folks have had some form of legit trauma in their lives. The other 30% are just dealing with environmental, circumstantial stuff, right? They got fired from their job, or they're in a difficult relationship, or, they can't sleep at night, or, there's all kinds of reasons why people come to see me. But I would say the vast majority of them have some form of trauma or significant issue in their life.
I know that you've dealt with it.
I dealt with it. I mean, I feel like everybody, like JC was saying, faces trauma in some shape, form, or fashion.
Yeah. And it's not, and what's funny is, you know, people will come in and I'll ask them, I'll say, so have you ever experienced anything that you would consider traumatic? Well, I've never been in combat, and I've never, you know, society has labeled what trauma is, right? Our media has labeled what trauma is. And so people will minimize their issues and problems or their own trauma based on that thought that, oh, well, if I haven't done this, or this, then I've never been traumatized. I apologize. You hear
I love it. I thought it was my son Landon.
Yeah, no. Nope. No, my little monster.
Our camera crew and sound crew is like what the hell is going on? This is like a circus session. Dogs barking, kids stomping.
Well,
Ashley's hair's pink. What the hell?
Oh God, JC.
Ashley's hair's pink, JC. She used spray paint, bro.
I didn't use spray paint. I used temporary tint. I didn't realize I was going to be on camera.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So you did put on makeup today?
Some. I didn't do
Did you,
real
JC?
Makeup. Did you put your makeup on?
Yeah, I got ready for this completely.
Yeah, I said a little warning would have been nice. I would have actually gotten, dressed and not dyed my hair.
Well,
pink.
since we had a little mix up for the episode, I walked downstairs just and this is typical me too, just for everybody to know.
This is totally our norm.
This is our norm. And I sat there and I sat there and said, all right, you're up. She's like, well, what do you mean? I was like, well, JC shit the bed. He won't be here. So you need to get up and get on this podcast. What are we going to talk about? I don't know. We're just going to get on it and just see how it works. But of course it all works out.
Well, Cole likes to have a group of people coming over and doesn't tell me till they're here.
Yeah, that's still
he does that.
A flaw of mine.
Hey, all school man class, whatever's here. Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, great.
Yeah, I haven't, showered and vacuumed or anything.
Anyway, so
yeah.
How are y'all doing with the quarantine?
Man, look, so my daughter's been home from college since a month.
Where's she going to school?
University of Arkansas.
Oh,
she's a
awesome.
favorite. Yeah. She's done great. She made the chancellor's list her first semester.
You gotta be proud, Dad.
I am proud of her, even though, 10 hours of it was in coloring.
Typical freshman year.
She's an art major, so I give her.
Okay.
I give her crap.
Okay, fair enough.
Hey, she had to color inside the lines to get that, so I'm proud of her.
Shit, I got a C in art. That was terrible.
Well,
I have no artistic bone in my body.
Oh, the kids have all these art projects to do, and I'm done. I'm out. Like I can't help them.
Yeah, she got accepted into the graphic design college or deal up there. They only accepted like 30 kids, and
damn.
Yeah, so she's talented. No, and then I've got my 16-year-old. He goes to Catholic High, and they go to school all day. Like he's on Zoom or whatever, like 6-7 hours. He still has to do physical fitness, so like he has to set his camera up and actually do physical fitness. So the team do it.
He's still playing baseball, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, he's on the baseball team, but they're not doing anything.
Yeah.
And then my two littles, I've got a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old who Little Rock School District. I mean, I get it. This has been, nobody expected this, but they get 30 minutes a day from their teachers and then some homework, and then they're left to their own devices. But it's still homework, and my wife is home working. I'm home working, and it was like Little Rock School District just expected us to teach our kids, and I'm like, look, I can't do that. I'm in here working 6-7 hours a day. My wife is working. How the hell are we going to teach our kids?
Sounds like you need a session, JC. Keep going.
Just send them on to my house. I'm over here, drill sergeant.
Yeah.
You can respect that. And that's one thing I didn't say about JC. He's a badass Marine warrior. That's the. Yeah. You are.
I'm an old man now.
Well, because that's what you tell yourself. It's that bullshit story that's standing between you and your dream.
It's the story. It's the story I want to tell myself.
I mean, come on, man.
No,
and that's one of the reasons why when I got to see you the first time, I mean, you're the real deal, raw and real, and I was like, I can connect with this guy. Like I can connect. There's no psycho babble bullshit that that he was dealing, that you dealt with. It was just the truth. It was just saying, hey, man, I'm a guy that is jacked up just like you are. Let's work on it together.
Yep.
And that's what I respect. All right, so I got a second grade math problem for you that you're going to have to try to figure out.
Oh God, it's not new math, is it? Because
it's new math, bro.
No, it's not.
Is it new math, Ashley?
Heck,
you know what I'm about to ask.
I don't even know what we do. Singapore math. I don't even know what that means.
We do Branson math.
I've been teaching my kids how to carry the one.
Well, I'm just saying, math for Marines. I got some crayons. If I can do it in crayon, we're okay.
All right, so here it is.
All right.
I asked this morning to another Marine I had a conversation with on the West Coast.
Is this even Madison's math problem?
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
All right, so here it is. 10 divided by blank equals 5 divided by blank equals 1 divided by blank.
Equals 2 divided by blank.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, whatever.
You're already confusing me.
It could be.
All right, it's 10 divided by blank equals.
Hold on.
Write it down with your crayon.
I'm getting there. Crap. It's gonna actually make me do something.
So my mom, we asked this to my mom, and she spent days trying to figure it out.
Like a damn Rubik's Cube.
She kept saying, so is my answer right?
Okay.
Is my answer right?
All right, here we go. You
All
got
right, say that again. 10 divided by blank.
10 divided by blank equals 5 divided by blank equals 2 divided by blank.
Okay, divided by blank. So 10 divided by blank equals 5 divided by blank equals 2 divided by. So 10 divided by.
So what are the blanks?
Yeah, I get that.
I was just trying to clarify, JC.
Yeah. Oh, you're so funny. Shit. Good Lord.
Cole sat down. It was like, he told me to Google it.
0. No, 10 divided by 0 is 0 equals 5 divided by 0. I don't know. That was my guess.
Well, it can go one or two ways. It can go 10 divided by 0 equals 5 divided by 0 equals 1 divided by 0 because they all equal 0. Or it can go 10 divided by 10 equals 5 divided by 5 equals 2 divided by 2 equals all ones. So it's kind of a trick question.
If you divide something by 0.
And I'm sure there's some like mathematician, the 1 out of 10 people that are going to watch this is going to be, and listen to this, is going to be like, no, y'all are a bunch of dumbasses. This is what.
I thought that all the blanks had to be the same number.
They have to equal, so you have to divide like 10 divided by 10 to equal 1.
I would fail second grade. I think I literally would fail second grade.
We were laughing.
This was a legit. This was
one of Ava Madison's questions.
Oh, good Lord!
It took us 30 minutes. We were about to sit there trying to figure this out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. Where does she go to school?
Episcopal.
Yeah. Those people are like cultists or something.
She's learning stuff I did in 12th grade when I was going to college.
All right, so let's transition real quick, and then I've got a few questions for you, oh wise one, my master Yoda. And
you're talking actually right.
I'm talking to you as my master. She is too. She's the one that kicks me square in the teeth nowadays.
Sorry.
Yep.
In a good way. It's all in a good way, and I take it with stride. So, tell me where I have fallen short, Ash. I had to clarify this because of the question that's about to come. Tell me where I'm falling short as right now, as a man, as your husband, as a father.
Like right now at this moment?
Well, over the past few weeks that we've been going through this quarantine.
Well, I told you the answer the other day when I came to you and said, you're here, you're working here, you have some free time because it's not quite as busy. You can actually help me out. I was trying to cook, clean, do laundry, help the kids do school all day in the same room, and you weren't helping me at all. And so I came to you and said, I need help here. And you did, which I appreciate. You've picked it up greatly and you've really helped me out. But until then, which honestly, this was kind of the whole reason, well, not the whole reason, but this was part of the thing that we struggled with when we first go into therapy was communication. So until I realized that I needed to communicate that, it was not going to change because you didn't see it.
Well, I mean, and that's, JC, you agree to disagree. Would you not? I mean, is communication not one of the number one things that all couples struggle with?
No. So let me ask you this. Why do you think people get divorced?
Lack of communication or something financial.
So most people will say financial or infidelity, right? The reality is it's all communication. When you stop talking to each other, you stop knowing each other, right? And the longer you're married, the longer you're together, the less you talk, because the more you think you know that person, the more you think you know what they're thinking or what they're going to do, and you create these expectations. But the problem is that over time we all change. I guarantee you that up until COVID, my wife spent more time with other people than she did with me. Her day husband, he knows her better than I do. The thing of it is that, and what I mean by that, the guy that she works with, not like she has a day husband and has me, like, anyway.
Interesting, but
I needed that. But the point is that Ashley's 100% correct, is that the failure there is both of you just lack of communicating. And then two, as a male, and this is a stereotype, and I am generalizing because I guarantee you there are some males out there that don't think like this. But in general, what I see, most males need direct communication. We need to be told what to do.
Absolutely.
If you do that, like, no kidding, my wife wrote a list of things for me to do on the chalkboard in the kitchen the other day.
Did you see Cole's, JC?
Angela, can you hand me my to-do list of big blocks and big letters for someone that needs thick Coca-Cola glasses and I don't need glasses? Go ahead, JC.
No, I'm just saying we're all talking about the same thing here. It's just about doing it and recognizing that, hey, as much as my wife wants me to be proactive in doing things, I don't think like her. I don't walk through the house looking for shit to do.
I agree.
Well, and one thing I said to Cole, another thing I said to Cole is, I don't know, I just thought about this again. But something else I came to him about was he was doing what he damn well pleased all the time. He was coming and going, doing whatever he wanted.
Is this during COVID or is this throughout our marriage?
Well, pretty much both. I mean, but really during COVID.
I love your pink hair, by the way.
I know, it's so hot.
Sorry, JC.
But
yeah,
he was, going where he needed to go, or not really needed, wanted to go and things like that. But he just assumed that I was going to be the one teaching the kids all the time. He just assumed that I was going to fix dinner. He just assumed I was going to do the laundry. And finally said, I'm done. Like, I need help or it's not going to get done, and I'm just going to, leave it.
I was positional at best at the beginning and still do fall into that. And I call it the way of the entitled man. I think that's really what led to the hairline fracture cracks in our relationship in the first place. That led us to JC.
Yep.
And I struggled, guys, if you're watching me right now or listening at all, the one thing I struggled with mightily was communicating and also connecting more than anything. I mean, everybody can communicate, but very few people connect. And I would think that I would tell her what I wanted her to hear, but it's like JC said, no, I mean, you're kind of mistaking movement with progress, or communication with progress, if you will. And then what plagued me in our relationship more than anything were the white lies. I mean, they were the white lies that built up and built up and built up, giving her enough truth to get her off my back.
And you still do that. You still occasionally will do that, but end up catching herself. It's just maybe lack of telling the whole truth.
Which is an issue. I mean, I'm not perfect, and I mean, that's the one thing that...
Well, nobody is.
Well, no. I mean, that's the one thing, like with, the one thing I tell all the guys is, holy shit, it's the Thunderdome out there. Sorry, guys, if you are hearing all that. I don't know what Ava and Landon are doing. But one thing I tell all the guys is that our old self will want to take our soul at every chance we let him or she do it, right?
Yep. Sure.
Plain and simple. Plain and simple.
Well,
So-
my main issue is definitely frustration and anger and not taking time to take a step back and
I agree.
breathe and regroup instead of acting immediately.
And your other issue is, and we talked about it last night, and this is something we'll have a separate episode on.
Gosh.
No, it's not bad, but it's like you would never talk to Ava Madison the way you talk to yourself.
No, but I have body image issues.
I understand.
And I would never let her talk to herself the way I feel.
But she picks up on that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what I'm telling, and us guys, I could see the sexiest woman in the mirror and she's giving me the death stare right now. Aren't you? Maybe. But it's because I love you so much. I think you're the sexiest thing alive. But as a man, and JC can chime in too, like when you hear your wife or you hear someone you love just tear themselves down, that hurts us too.
Sure does.
How's that to-do list going?
Check. Way to switch gears.
Mm-hmm.
Way to switch gears. All right, so JC, I've got a couple questions for you, and then we'll just wrap this puppy up because we're going to let the kids in, and we'll get them on the mic just to say hello here in a little bit.
Okay.
All right, so if you had a billboard that the whole world could see, everybody speaks the same language, what message would be on that billboard to the world?
It would. I know exactly what it would say. I don't know if they could actually print it.
Hey, let it rip.
Hey, you want to make people change in your life? Try unfucking yourself first.
That's what he told me. Boom.
He told Cole to go and fuck himself.
With the knife hand. Right
Yep.
there. With the knife hand. All right, so
extreme ownership.
that's it. It begins and ends with that. So the second question I have for you is, what is your favorite failure?
Oh my gosh. I know what it is, and I would probably need permission from my wife.
All right. So that gives us enough of an answer.
Does that say enough?
That says enough.
I failed my wife. I failed her 10, 11 years ago. And she would even tell you that if that had not happened, we probably wouldn't be together today. We needed a wake-up call. We needed something to happen. And God, it sucked and it was horrible. And I wish it had never happened. But had it not, man, I don't know if we'd be together today. So yeah, that's my favorite. Yeah.
I have to say, the same kind of is true to us too, because we were at rock bottom when
emotionally we were. Yeah.
When we found JC. Mm-hmm. And when we moved past everything.
Sure.
I mean, it was, like I said, success is failure recycled. We never looked at it that way.
No, we knew we were going to always push through, but we weren't necessarily happy because at the beginning, because I was constantly pregnant or having kids and staying home, and you were doing your own thing.
Yeah, I was. I mean, and that's one thing that any marriage that's worth a shit, and Jay, we'll all agree, is like you've been through the shit together, and you're going to go through it again, and then you evolve with each other. I mean, that's Saturday when we were running errands with the kids, and I still got one more question for you, Judd. But when we run with the kids, they're old enough now, and I don't know if your kids have asked you this, but their friend
Dan Isles doing have y'all seen that?
What?
Have y'all seen that on Facebook or what? It's a meme, whatever, with this adult. He's an adult and he's talking about going shopping with his kids and how he'll turn around and look and his kids are like doing these little dance moves or whatever.
I haven't seen that.
I haven't seen it.
All right. Well, I'll send it to you. It's hilarious because when your kids get to be teenagers, they'll just walk around the house and they'll slam out these like 2-second little dance moves and they won't break stride. It's crazy. Anyway, somebody out there listening knows exactly what I'm talking about.
I think that's my house every day, though, right now.
Well, all Ava Madison does is dance.
All that she does is dance. But send us the meme anyway. But here's where I was going with this is that Ashley ran into Walmart, into the Thunderdome, and then I stayed out in the car with Ava and Landon, and they got to asking me about divorce because a couple, their friends, some of their friends now their parents are going through divorce. And,
Sure.
I'm just sitting there, and Landon was the first one that asked me. He said, Daddy, are you and Mommy, first he goes, what is divorce? And of course I went through the whole spiel. And then Ava Madison goes, well, Daddy, will you ever do that with Mommy? So they're starting to get to that age. And the one thing I just said to him, I said, listen, guys, Mommy and Daddy aren't going to agree on everything, and nor should we. Conflict makes us better as long as we can resolve it. I said, but, any family that's worth their salt, they went through things together, through adversity together, and came out better.
Right.
I don't know if your kids have ever asked you that, but it was just a topic of conversation.
Yeah. No, I mean, kids are inquisitive, and kids are going to ask questions, especially when they're faced with the unknown and they see their friends hurting and going through things that they certainly don't want to have to go through. No, I think it's healthy, and I think it's healthy that you're honest with your kids, about what these things are, and you don't sugarcoat them, so to speak. Now, you don't have to get into the weeds about your relationship with them. That's not any of their business. But no, I mean, how'd you feel? I mean, what were you? Did it catch you off guard? I mean, were you?
No, it doesn't catch us off guard
like
about those conversations with them.
For some reasons, our kids ask us pretty intense questions quite a bit.
And it might be because that's how we are.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Especially me, I'm a very in-depth just person, and it was very conversational. It wasn't like they were crying, like Ashley and I got in an argument. So for me, I was like, and I told Ashley about it, and I was like, yeah, they asked me about this, and this is what I told them. Like it's real. And I mean, there are more divorces occurring right now with empty nesters than with anybody. I think that's right. I don't have a statistic to prove that, but because they never connected with each other while the kids were growing up.
Right.
So here's the last question, then we'll wrap all this up. And it's not really a question, but it's advice that I need you to give to the men that are out there, whether they're in SOM, whether they're just out there watching, listening, whatever.
Okay.
Give them advice on how to be vulnerable. I don't care how you give it. Like, what is their steps to doing that, and what have you seen to be successful for guys so that they can? I've seen a lot of guys bottle up and then blow up because they're just not willing to deal with the hard shit. They want to distract themselves with stuff that doesn't have impact.
Well, I think there's a couple of ways to become vulnerable. One, I think you have to be willing to do it, right? I think there has to be a willingness to accept vulnerability in your life and understand that being a man and being vulnerable doesn't mean that you're weak. Doesn't mean that you're, any less than of a man. It's about growth. It's about understanding that the only true way to find yourself, and you've coined it with, finding your why through School of Man, is to allow yourself to become vulnerable. I think one way it can be, which again you do with School of Man, it can be created through a physical testament and physical test, and then the other one is not necessarily something that you look for. It just kind of happens. And like you asked me earlier, what was my greatest failure, and that allowed me to become vulnerable because I was faced with loss. I was getting ready to lose everything I ever cared about in my life, and I knew I needed to become vulnerable and accept the fact that I needed to change my life. And change a lot about my life. And without that critical incident happening, I would have continued on. That's why I said my wife and I would probably be divorced to this day, or at this time, because I would have continued on to be that selfish individual who just did what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. And so my advice is, don't wait for something horrible to happen in your life, right? Get out there. If you recognize the fact that, your world is upside down and you need help, then go find help. Go talk to somebody who's a professional, right? Talking to your buddies and talking to your friends and talking to your friends' friends, they're going to tell you what they think
you hear. Yeah.
Yeah. You need to find somebody that's going to be direct, and somebody's going to be honest and objective, and and help you create some change in your life.
Well,
because otherwise you're
ahead.
just going to keep.
Yeah, you're going to keep doing the same thing. You're just going to. I mean, and that's why, like, everybody in SOM, we didn't know each other before it began, and you said it best. Like, guys respond to direct conversation. I know I do, and I also respond to, if I know that if I'm disappointing those that I love the most, that by far is more of a cure than anything. And I cannot stand to disappoint those that love me the most and that pour into me. And that's, of course, Ashley, the kids, and thinking about losing them just completely. And I'm one of those guys, I do not, everybody fails, but I'm talking about, like, I'm not going to be the guy that's going to self-destruct. That I'm not going to let it go that far. Have I done it? Absolutely, but I don't want to lose everything. And I think what you said was pure gold of, like, don't wait. Like, if you've got that tug at your soul, find somebody that's not in that. And that's another thing too. You need to look in the mirror, guys. And if that inner circle, y'all aren't getting better, you're not helping each other. Plain and simple. I'm not saying not go have a beer, shoot guns, and do whatever the hell you want to do, but you've really got to address the problems at hand. So, good stuff, man. Good stuff.
All right, brother.
You're the man.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. Ash, you have anything?
No, thanks, JC.
Thank you, baby, for being on. So we'll do this again. Yeah. We'll do this again. Let me wrap it up here. So,
I got to run.
Yeah, jump off here. Ashley and I are going to stay on, and then I'm going to let the kids come in, and that's how we're going to finish this episode.
All right. So, hey, I appreciate you guys.
Hey, JC, thanks, buddy. Thanks for everything.
Okay, be good.
See ya.
Bye.
Yeah, bring them in. You guys have been waiting. So, oh my Lord, get on here. You got to get on camera now. There's nothing more innocent than a kid's laugh. Go sit in Mama's lap.
Oh my goodness.
Could you guys just not, you just couldn't wait to get in here, could you? Ava Madison, come here.
Did you
tell everybody hi?
Need some attention?
You need, no, speak into the mic. Say hi.
Lupa.
Landon, you love the mic.
Hello. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, guys. As you see, this is my family. This is my heart. This is Ava Madison. That's Landon. That's Landon. Of course, you've met Ashley. Thank you so much for tuning in to our second episode on Lead with Impact. Woo-woo. Therapy is not woo-woo. Please understand that. I think you heard JC, who has honestly been a saving grace for me and Ash.
He has.
He's not just a great... remove the word therapist. He's a great man, great mentor, great friend. He provided some pure gold today. And it took us a couple times to figure out someone that really worked for us. So don't wait until something happens, like JC said, to seek out help by any stretch of the imagination. I still go to therapy on the regular. We're always a work in progress. So keep that in mind. It's a game of inches. But that's it from us. Like I said on the last podcast episode, how I ended it, this is what I need you to do. I need you to put a dent in the universe and have a phenomenal day.
Look
I'm
at
out.
Daddy's man.